Hey guys, Sarah with 3 Raptor Consulting here, and today I wanted to talk to you about recruiting new board members. So I have 11 questions that I've crafted that you really need to ask your current board and work through before you start recruiting new board members. I know recruiting new board members can seem like an overwhelming task. When asking people to give their time, talent, or treasures, we just want to take whoever volunteers, right? It's the absolute wrong answer. If we took every person who walked into a nonprofit who wanted to serve on a board, we would never get anything done, or the board would be way too large. It wouldn't be diverse enough, or your sphere of influence would be too small. It would be a nightmare. So here are some tips in general about boards before we get into those questions. Your ideal board is 8 to 10 people in size. I know that might sound a little small, but if you get any bigger, it's difficult to manage. And if you get any smaller than 8, then people start to get a little overwhelmed with the amount of work. 8 to 10 is that sweet spot. Here's how you increase it. The little known fact that is completely legal, kosher, 100% the perfect thing to do is when you create committees like an event committee or a hiring committee, only one person has to be from the board. The rest can be volunteers who specialize in that area to serve on that committee. It's a great way to get more people involved in your nonprofit, not overwork your current board, but keep your board small enough to manage. Term limits are a must. Without board rotations, without term limits, your board becomes very insular, very closed, and you don't have a great sphere of influence. Sphere of influence, really quickly, is the number of people that you can reach through your nonprofit. Ideally, potential donors. You want that sphere of influence to be continually growing and to be as large as possible. Because of that, you want to get new board members constantly and from different areas and walks of life, because that's going to keep your sphere of influence growing. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but Sarah, if we just constantly have new board members, how do we create continuity? How do we keep people engaged? Really simple. Term limits. People can serve 2 different terms before they have to take a year off. But in addition to that, people, when they finish their terms, ask them if they want to serve on the advisory committee. They don't have to attend board meetings. They don't have the responsibilities of a board member, but they agree to donate their time and talents to assist the nonprofit in a once a year or twice a year capacity or on-call basis. This is perfect. You keep people engaged. You can have a really big advisory committee, but you keep your board manageable. So as board members term out or as their term ends, ask them if they're interested in serving on the advisory council. I said that. I said it again because it's a really important thing to do. Here's 5 questions that you want to ask and get people to answer before you make a list of potential board members. So number 1, you want to ask, what skills are you currently lacking on your board or in your staff? Number 2, what is the potential sphere of influence of the recommended people on that list? Or what's the sphere of influence that you're looking for? Or what area of the community have you not been able to break into? Before you consider anybody, you want to know if they'll donate their time, treasure, and talent to the agency. If they just like to have their name listed but don't show up to anything, you don't want that. What portion of the community do they represent? You want a diverse board, so it's really important that you list that. And do you already have someone on the board that fills 3 of the 4 requirements? So really answer those questions as you're making a list of potential recruitments. Once you have that list, here's what you want to ask. You need to make sure that you have a participant or a parent and guardian of a participant serving as a current board member. 2, you should always ensure that you have an equal balance of men and women serving. 3, it's really important to have board members from each decade of life serving. So like someone in their 20s, someone in their 30s, 40s, etc. We need that diversity and that balance. It's important that your board accurately reflects the ethnic, cultural, and racial makeup of your clients and or the community that you serve. If you work, I get really passionate about this point, so I said it too fast. If you work with high-risk youth who are primarily Hispanic, your board needs to be primarily Hispanic, because you want the board to be able to relate and interact with your clients, and you also want your clients to look at your board and your organization and see themselves reflected. You want that sense of familiarity so that people want to come and work with you. All right, number 5. Do you have equal representation from all minority groups on your board? If you don't serve any minorities, you don't necessarily need any minorities on your board, but you probably want to. We want diverse, we want different opinions, different backgrounds. And finally, do you have an employee from each major employer on your board? Because so often these major employers have giving programs, and so you want to make sure that you represent everybody. Once you've answered both sets of questions, you're ready to start the recruitment process. But don't just straight out walk up to somebody and be like, hey, Sarah, do you want to serve on your board? You want to create a meeting where you interview me and vet me. You want to get to know me, what I stand for, and if I'd be a good fit for your organization. Then you want me to attend a board meeting just to observe, and then you want to think if you want to add me. It's a really kind of lengthy process, but I promise that if you invest in it, you will develop a board that is incredible. So for more resources or additional ways to help recruit and manage board members, check out the resources at 3raptorconsulting.com.